Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm here today with Hilton Karan, who's the CEO of iFabric. Hilton Price is the CFO, and Giancarlo Beavis is the CEO of the company's Intelligent Fabric division. iFabric is focused on developing a range of products that can improve the safety and well-being of the wearer. Since our last webinar, the company has announced Q2 results, a contract with Tumi, a luxury brand, and an EPA registration update, as well as the EPA registration for BioTX. And we'll discuss some of these updates today. Management will provide an operational update and open up the conversation to a question and answer period as well. So if you have any questions, you can input them into the Q&A box below. Just so that you're aware, the conversation may contain some forward-looking information. Disclaimers are on the company's presentation and on the website. So thank you all for being here. Hilton, why don't we kick it off with you and a bit of an update with the financials.
With pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your interest in iFabric. My name is Hilton Price. I'm the CFO of iFabric. I'm going to provide a reasonably brief high-level overview of our Q2 results for the quarter ended March 31, 2021. We did disseminate a very detailed press release with respect to results, which is available on our website as well as CEDAR. If you want to look at those, you'll get more detail in this regard. Accordingly, I will summarize our Q2 results as follows. Revenues. Our total revenues for Q2 2021 was $2,882,000, and that compares to $2,252,000 in 2020, an increase of $630,000 or 28%. In terms of divisional revenues, our Intelligent Fabrics division recorded revenues of $2,539,000 compared to $1,237,000 in the comparable quarter of 2020, an increase of $1,302,000 or 105%. Now, the increase in that division is really attributable to increased performance apparel sales and increased chemical sales, and I'm pleased to say that we're maintaining triple-digit increases. I think that's very encouraging. With regard to our intimate apparel division, sales for the quarter were $316,000 compared to $983,000 in 2020, a decrease of $667,000 or 68%. And unfortunately, this division is suffering through the pandemic. In-store sales, which is our main source of revenue, remain weak, and there was an added curveball thrown at us through the quarter in that our major customer in Canada, which is Walmart, moved to only a grocery situation. Previously, they had their apparel segment or sections open. They've now closed that, and unfortunately, that has affected us, and that reflects in the results for the division. Gross margins. Our gross margin percentage for the quarter was 41% compared to 37% in 2020, an increase of 4%. And that's mainly attributable to strong chemical margins in our Intelligent Fabrics division. Our margins have been improving steadily over the last few years, and that's really starting to now reflect in our margins. In terms of gross profit dollars, we had $1,175,000 for 2021 compared to $842,000 in 2020, an increase of $333,000 or 40%. Our EBITDA for the quarter was negative $36,000 compared to negative $48,000 in 2020, an increase of $446,000. So basically, we were break even in the quarter. For our 6 months ended March 31, 2021, total revenue was $10,404,000 compared to $4,849,000 in 2020, an increase of $5,555,000 or 115%. For our Intelligent Fabrics division, sales of $9,419,000 compared to $2,672,000, an increase of 6,747,000 or 253%. Intimate apparel recorded sales of 929,000 for the 6 months compared to 2,113,000, a decrease of 1,184,000 or 56%. So I think the underlying strength here is that for the 6 months, we've almost reached the level of revenues for our full year of 2020, which again, to me, is very encouraging. In terms of EBITDA, we had 1,979,000 for the 6 months compared to negative 358,000 for the comparable period in 2020, representing an increase of 2,337,000, which I think is pretty good. In terms of our balance sheets, here I'll be comparing our Q1 numbers with our Q2 numbers with our Q1 numbers, because I think that's more relevant in terms of the balance sheet. So working capital was 18,995,000 in Q2 2021 compared to 8,888,000 in Q1 2021, which is our December quarter, an increase of 10,107,000, which is mainly attributable to a capital raise we did in the quarter. I think that provided most of the increase in our working capital. In terms of cash, at the end of the quarter, we had 9,628,000 compared to 947,000, an increase of 8,681,000. In terms of, we have a credit line of 3,700,000 or available up to 3,750,000, which was unutilized at the end of both those quarters. So that credit line is available to be added on to our working capital situation to fund the business should we need it. Obviously, with the cash that we've got in the moment, I don't think we're going to need that in the short term. In terms of key ratios on our balance sheet, the one I really focus on, and I think the one that's most meaningful to most people, is our current ratio. At the end of the second quarter, our current ratio was 11.78 to 1 compared to 3.55 to 1 at the end of Q1. And I think you'd agree that represents a massive strengthening in our balance sheet. And with that, I conclude that.
Great. So obviously a lot of strength from the IFTNA division. Stay-at-home orders have created some challenges with coconut growth, but it's also offset by IFTNA. Can you talk about what you think the second half of the year is going to look like given the stay-at-home challenges?
There's so many moving parts in that, it's so hard to budget. Obviously, EPA, which we expected earlier and hasn't arrived yet, was a big factor in forward budgeting. We have a large pent-up demand for product. Once we get EPA, that's our own product as well as third-party products and chemical sales. So I think I would hold back on giving an indication until we get EPA. And I think at that point, it would be more opportune to put out something that's forward-looking, that's based on substantive, real relevant information and stuff that we really need to move forward to the next level.
Okay. It sounds like there's a lot of contracts that are in the works. You signed this and announced this deal with Tumi.
I think Tina has frozen, but I'm going to jump in and just add a few points. I think it is very important if one wants to look forward. Our Coconut Grove division is starting to see from orders that are coming in now a real resurgence in orders, in hard orders from our retailers in the US. So our Q3 and Q4 in our lingerie division is going to see a significant return to the profit side and to the plus side. So I think that while Canada represents a significant portion of the lingerie division, We've certainly got a preponderance of US customers that are up north of 30% in ordering in the last few weeks from what they were ordering for the same quarter in 2019 pre-pandemic. So clearly there's pent-up demand, and we're seeing record orders for the lingerie division. I think at the same time, the Intelligent Fabric division has orders in the next quarters that are significantly higher than what we enjoyed this time last year. I think the only problem is, as Hilton Price pointed out, is until we get the opening from the Canadian, to allow the Canadian retailers to open the doors to product. Yes, they will still be offering all the products online, so it's not like the sales have dried up, but we really need to see the doors open for us to really enjoy. But there's been no cancellation, and the order and the amount of programs is way up from what we enjoyed last year. So I think that's a lot of positives to look forward to for the remainder of this year and into next year.
And we've talked about the financings on previous webinars, but obviously you have a significant working capital position currently. Can you talk about the use of proceeds for the financing and what you're planning on doing with that working capital position?
I think John Carlos should deal with that, because I think a lot of it's to do with regulatory and product development initiatives. Over to you, John Carlos.
Sure. Yeah. So a good chunk of the use of those proceeds is obviously some further research and development. We're trying to get, excuse me, the all-surface coating, the antiviral all-surface coating commercial as quickly as possible. So we're using some of those proceeds to deal with that. We're expanding supply chain and moving into some, as soon as we can and as quickly as we can, into some new markets for us to be able to enjoy some duty benefits and relief from different countries for our finished product apparel. We've gotten bigger orders that need to be financed from some of the national retailers, as well as we're launching our own private land, or our own brand product, which will launch in fall and winter of this year, which will use some of that capital as well. We're also looking into some new regulations in Europe to expand our reach with our current chemistries and some of our new chemistries, and we're developing new textile treatments pretty much daily. So as you saw, Biotex was our most recent registration on a new product that we can offer to all of our customers, and there's a host of new ones also coming down the pipe. With some of our other customers, like the North Face, where we're working on some C0 water repellent programs. Those programs are quite substantial. If and when we are awarded those, we will need that capital to be able to get all the product in place and deliver it as scheduled, so that they can produce garments for the retail segment as well.
Okay, and on the topic of some of these, you mentioned the water repellents. A lot of new technologies on the website. You have over 20 different technologies, I think. You announced this BioTX EPA registration. What is BioTX? How is it different from Protex 2? And what are the plans with that going forward?
Sure. So BioTX is a metal-free antimicrobial technology. What BioTX allows us to do, it's very comparable to Protex 2 and its efficacy. It's not intended to be used for a public health claim. It's more intended for the odor control market. With Protex 2, we have certain customers and clienteles that we've done either an exclusive deal or an excluded brands deal with, which prohibits us from using Protex 2 or any related product. With this new technology, it allows us to have a broader reach to get some of those guys that were previously excluded from using our products under the Protex 2 banner. So it really just broadens our customer base. It gives alternate options for companies that have a real, and I don't want to say a sustainable focus, but that just want something that's metal free. Whether it is or isn't sustainable is a different topic for a different day. But they just want that story because it matches their marketing. So that's the real difference between Protex 2 and BioTX, and what the intended plans are. Go and reach those guys that we haven't been able to, because in the early days we made some deals to get our product into some big national retailers and national brands previously.
So some of these customers been waiting on the sidelines? Are they aware of BioTX and have just been waiting for approval, or do you have to start this sales cycle from the beginning?
No, there's a few customers that'll have products in the market by early next year. The productions actually are happening probably 30, 60 days from now.
Interesting. And there hasn't currently been any studies on the antiviral side, is that correct?
On the side of biotechs?
Yeah.
Well, we've done some preliminary discoveries on it, and we do think it is going to have some viral effect. But to be honest, Protex 2 AV is so effective and such a fantastic product, and we haven't given exclusivity on that side of life. So our focus really right now remains on the Protex 2 AV product. Will we look at it down the road? Sure, because it doesn't hurt to have more than one weapon in this fight. But currently, we're focused on an antiviral side with Protex 2 AV.
And on the topic of the antiviral and Protex 2, there's a question from the audience asking about the clinical trials, asking what the difference between the two planned clinical trials is, and whether or not you're using other technologies versus Protex 2.
Yeah, so there's two clinical trials. They don't differ. They're just at two different sites. They're both using Protex 2, but they also both use Repeltex, which is our durable water repellent. So we'll get data and finding on both of those two technologies. One of them is actually, we've moved it up. It's going to start somewhere between the middle of September and middle of October. That's the current date in one of the facilities. The other one was in a little bit of an area that got hit harder with COVID, and so they're not ready to kind of get back to it yet, but we would anticipate not too far after we initiate the first clinical trial, we'll get back into the second one.
And how long do you think each of those trials would take?
I believe we were slated for 8 weeks, and then however long it takes us to correlate the data and write the right white paper. So 10 weeks, 12 weeks, maybe.
Right. And what would you kind of have to show with those clinical trials? Is there a significant or a certain level of efficacy, or what would the expectation be?
Yeah, so really what we're looking for is to reduce bioburden in the healthcare facility and try and prove out that by reducing the bioburden, we can limit the transmission of bacteria and viruses from point A to point B. So, I mean, while we expect a 90+ difference, I mean, if we did a 5% difference, it would be massive to the healthcare facility because it would save them hundreds of millions of dollars a year as far as readmittance and all the other things that come along with infection control. So I would say anything 5% or more is a win. We anticipate 90% plus, so I think it's a win-win.
And on the topic of healthcare facilities using your products, the laundry additive, I know you've signed some licensing deals almost a year ago now. How are things progressing on that side with some of the current licensing partners and potentially future licensing partners?
Yeah, we're working through with the South African group to get them up and running. They've done some preliminary work. They're really trying to get their manufacturing in country up and running, which takes them a little bit of time to deal with the volume that we would expect. As far as in North America and in Europe, we're working with Charismatic Brands, our scrub partner, to replace the technology they were using previous to us. That doesn't have the same efficacy or the same application. And that's going well. I mean, they're running through the stock they had put in place. As soon as that runs out, it'll be replaced with Protex 2 AV. And then I think that we'll use the product in different ways for our own brand. So, excuse me, too many Zoom meetings today, guys. I'm losing my voice. I think that in our own brand product, I know Protex 2 AV kills COVID, but it also does a whole host of other things. So if we want to use it as an odor control booster and things of that nature, we'd be looking at those opportunities, both in our own brand, as well as with some of our big brand partners that are in the sportswear arena.
On the hard surface side of things, are things progressing at all, or still in more of an R&D stage right now?
We've had some really positive results. Really what we're trying to determine now is the durability of the coating and whether we can improve upon it. So unfortunately, those durability tests take time. So we're right around the 6-month mark at this point in time, depending on how you prove the efficacy out. But we'd like to try and get closer to 12 months if we could. I think Tina froze.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Some technical difficulties
today. Did you mean
today.
durability, not efficacy?
What was that?
I said, did you mean durability, not efficacy?
Yeah, durability, yes. Yeah, we just want to stay there as long as possible so you don't have to do the shutdown and recoat frequently throughout the year.
Okay. And you put out the infamous EPA advanced claim update today. Do you want to talk about this a little bit and talk about some of the lobbyists that are getting involved as well to accelerate this this program?
Sure. I think part of it that needs to be understood is that we're breaking new ground on this. No one ever has done this before. And so when you start to create a brand new product category, things come along the way that require different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at the situation. And so obviously EPA was dragging their heels and taking their time getting this registration finished and had made some suggestions along the way. And really, so what we did is we listened to their suggestions and started thinking about what that means and how we can try and get them to just bring this over the finish line. And in those conversations and through those suggestions, we've been able to kill two birds with one stone. One is to try and get them over the finish line quicker. And second part of that is to give us a little bit more protection on our IP and how anyone could use our data that we've put all the money, time, and effort into to potentially get their registrations in a similar fashion. And so really we went to the EPA, and I mean, a suggestion and a request by the EPA are kind of one and the same. So we took the suggestions and we've asked them to allow us to do it in a new manner. And so they've granted us that permission. And while it might add a month or so on the top end, I mean, in the long run, it'll give us the long-term protection we're looking for.
Right. I think at the end of the day, the company is obviously signing new contracts. Tumi is another household name, and there's potential to expand that contract as well. And there's a number of major brands that are you're currently working with and that are in the pipeline. So regardless of this claim, this advanced claim, I should say, the company's moving along pretty nicely and seeing significant growth as evidenced by the 105% year-over-year growth of the IFTNA division that came out in Q2.
I would say that, and rightfully so, a lot of these investment calls are focused on these kill claims and these advanced claims for sure. And I do understand why, because that is going to be a gigantic catalyst for the company. But at the same time, as you mentioned earlier, we have 20 different technologies. Every single one of those could be its own business, and quite a substantial one at that. So while we do have that in the works, we still are doing day-to-day business and signing new contracts, developing new things, and business hasn't been affected in any way. Our partners are still there for the long run. When we get it, they'll just reap the benefits of being long-term partners.
Right. We had an audience question. We chatted about the laundry additive briefly already, but are there any other maybe tidbits you can give us on maybe not so much the licensing side, but direct sales or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we'll put out a frontline version of it shortly. But I also believe that, as I said earlier, we're going to look to do not just an antiviral or anti-odor kind of laundry additive product for our own brand. I think what we are going to look at is doing single-use applications for other items. Like if you want to make your existing gray sweatshirt at home durable water repellent, do we have a solution that you could just do that as a one-time use? Things of that nature. So I think there'll be potentially could be a whole line of different items that we do in a fabric conditioner or laundry additive line that we do under our own brand. But that's early stages. As I said, charismatic brands working through their stock of the stuff they were using before, and we'll take over that once they work through it. And some of the global brands that we're working with are actually now looking at this as a solution, or I hate to say it, accessory that they would potentially sell as well. So.
Okay, great. On the PPE side, any update on how sales are going?
Sales have been good. We're working with a Canadian distributor to kind of just take that off of our plate because they're already in the PPE supply space. And rather than us trying to go and get direct contracts with hospitals and other people to use these kinds of PPE, we're working with them to kind of come to some kind of agreement for them to distribute the product on our behalf, both in Canada and the US. The US is relatively new.
Okay, and is everything on track on the private label side?
Yeah, we're pending shipping from China. We can find containers to get the stuff here. Yes, we're on track for a fall holiday launch. Listen, there's circumstances that everybody's being faced with out of China right now, but so far we look to be on track with all of that.
On the topic of China, there was you had a larger contract that was filled in Q1. There was a bit of a dispute with the distributor. Is there an update on that side?
Sure. We've gone to the Economic Arbitration Council in China, and we have a date with them in the near future to get a judgment on our behalf. And our lawyers remain confident that it will go in our favor. At the end of the day, it's pretty cut and dry. We were the buyer; they didn't provide the product, and they have the money. So at the end of the day, we're pretty confident that the judgment will be in our favor.
Okay, great. I think those are most of the questions from the audience. There was a question about near-term and revenue guidance. I'm not sure if you're comfortable kind of discussing that or not.
I think Hilton Price kind of hit on it, where he said that once we get a better idea and handle on what this is going to mean for us, we'll put out some new guidance. But at the same time, the revenues and the programs from the private label apparel are still there. Those haven't changed. They have nothing to do with EPA, so those are there. We're getting new programs all the time that really have no tie again to EPA. The C0 water repellent program with our customers is going on. So potentially we could put out some new guidance in the short term, but I think we'd rather get a better handle on the EPA situation before we do.
Okay, great. I think those are all the questions that we have. So why don't you summarize some of the catalysts, I guess, that investors can look forward to in the next 6 months or so, and then we'll leave it there.
Sure. I mean, obviously the launch of the own brand, I think, is a big one. I think we can do a real good job. I think this story is going to resonate with a lot of consumers and drive a lot of brand loyalty to it. I think the clinical trials will be a great one for us. I think that it's great that we're going to have a sticker from the EPA that says it kills something, but when we can empirically show it in real life, especially in a healthcare facility, that's something that's really meaningful and can drive value for our biggest customer, which means more scrubs they sell, the more chemicals we sell, which is great. And it also gives us a hold on not only Protex there, but also the DWR story, which is fantastic. And then we continue to grow with our current customers. I mean, the national retailers we're already doing business with have given us additional programs. And in most cases, they're not buying anything because they don't know when they're going to open. And we've just secured 3 or 4 new programs with them, with continuations of the programs we already have. So really, those are the catalysts that I can see. Hilton or Hilton.
I just think that the US clearly is ahead of Canada in reopening, cautiously optimistic that will be phase 1 and then phase 2 locally. So I think that really nothing short of a 4th wave should really see us only going back to the old numbers as we've proven performance gains in every quarter. So we are very, very comfortable where we are, what we've performed, and what we've got on our roadmap for the foreseeable future. We do have other announcements that are coming. There are other contracts coming through that are market leaders in areas we've never done business with before, with global outreach. So good days ahead.
I'll add one catalyst there. The travel industry, as soon as they get back to norm, I mean, hopefully that'll happen within the next 12 months. We've got large ideas. I mean, everybody's thinking is nobody's traveling on a plane without protection in the future. So once that industry gets going, we've got a lot of plans to market products into that industry, secure relationships with maybe one or more of the major airlines. I think there's huge potential there, and we'll get to that in due course. But if I was on a plane when I'm allowed to travel, I'm not going without something that's treated with our antiviral technology.
Yeah, for sure. And before I let you off the hook, maybe just a quick update on some of the other technologies we've talked about: Biotex, Repeltex, Protex. We've talked about DreamSkin in the past, and there's a dozen others. Any other significant updates that investors should be looking out for?
I think with DreamSkin, we're working through with the FDA in that case to try and figure out what kind of pathway we need to get to be able to make a wound care product that incorporates not only DreamSkin but also Protex 2, so that we can help heal skin faster with DreamSkin as well as keep infection away with Protex 2. So it's quite a complicated maze to navigate, but we're working in conjunction with them now and with some regulatory consultants there. So I think that's a little bit of an update. We've made a little bit of progress there. One of the programs that, actually 2 of the programs that we're now putting in with a national retailer use a new technology called Omega, which is our far infrared technology, which helps regenerate muscles faster, increases blood flow, things of that nature. So that'll be out. I believe it actually goes to market in somewhere around February, March. But we're putting products out using Omega, Protex, Drytex, which is our wicking technology, combination of the three, as well as some thermal regulation technology as well that's going to be used in those products. And then I think as we look forward to the fall, we're putting some products on Amazon that are under brands that we own, that'll utilize a whole suite of technology that we haven't really done a lot with in the past with any kind of national retailer. So I think that'll give us a broader audience for those technologies as well.
And there's a list of all of the technologies on the IFTNA.com website as well, which shows not only all the technologies that the company owns, but also the number of partners that the company is working with, including Target, Lole, Lululemon, North Face, Under Amour. The list goes on. Well, thanks for the update. I appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing some of these other updates in the future. I know it's going to be quite a busy few months and a lot of catalysts to come. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.